This week on The Internet Advisor, we'll be talking, about technology. We're going to just do a general roundtable about all sorts of things that are going on in and around the internet and things that are going on with your technology device. We'll talk about that and so much more, so stick around. It's going to be a wonderful and crazy conversation today on The Internet Advisor. Hey, welcome to the Internet Advisor. My name is Carson. I'm here with Ed Rudel, our Chief Technologist on the Internet Advisor. And this week, we're going to let Gary Baker take the day off because he needed a much-needed rest at his age. No, I'm just kidding. But working the decks of the shared adventure, he's probably out enjoying the sun, and we'll see him again sometime next week.
Nice, scraping barnacles probably or something like that.
I As much as I try to answer that question with some sort of retort, I think I should leave that alone because I can't imagine Gary scraping anything except for the bottom of a cereal bowl. But you never know. You never, ever know. Hey, guess what? This week in tech history, I was checking around, and guess what? There's a birthday this week. And we want to say happy birthday to Pac-Man. Yes, that little yellow guy. Yeah, it was May 22nd, 1980, when Namco first introduced the game to the public. Now, did you know this, Ed? Originally, the name was not P-A-C, Pac-Man. He was actually called Puck, P-U-C-K, man. That was his original name.
I think I remember that. He's probably a little gray right now, being 50 years old. Not so yellow anymore.
I think all the yellow probably fell right out of him. But he's been around for a long time. And believe it or not, this game was actually created and directed toward women as opposed to guys, because they thought maybe that the theme of this, everything else that was going on were like war and shoot 'em up and that sort of thing.
Exactly.
And they figured that, if they do something that caters to women, they could touch that market as well. And that was back in the days when how many quarters can you pump into that little tabletop device? So Pac-Man was really, really big. During that time, it generated over $2.5 billion in 1980. By 1990, I should say.
Oh, wow.
It was one of the highest grossing video games of all time. So I think everyone loves Pac-Man. So it's a great game to check out. Speaking of gaming, PC Magazine reported that Nintendo is coming out in September with a new version of the Nintendo Switch. And that's the standalone handheld device for gaming that Nintendo has.
Well, right, that with the detachable game pads that you can use as well, and it integrates within your console if you wanted to, or a TV.
Correct. And right now they have the $199 Switch Lite, and then they have the current version of the $299 Switch. So it's coming out, but they anticipate it will be at least the $299. Probably is going to be a little bit more than that because it's got new features and probably will have a name like Switch Pro.
Well, if you remember the last year, the 2020, they were impossible to find, and the prices were going for $1,000 on, for resale. Incredible.
I've never ever, in the entire time that I've been involved in technology, I have never ever wanted to be willing to pay more than MSRP for any of those devices ever.
Yeah, not even for your kids, because that's what was happening as parents wanted to fulfill their kids' Christmas wish list. We were still in the middle of the pandemic, and and they just wanted to give them another distraction device so mom and dad can continue working at home, right?
Yeah.
That's one running theory, and I'm sure there's lots of other reasons. There's always people that purchase these things for themselves and are willing to pay whatever it takes to get them.
So. Yeah, and a lot of times, they're willing to do that. And when you have those types of I call them panic buys. Then that is also the time when the scammers just roll right up out of the woodwork and go crazy. And you'll go out on eBay and the guy says, I've got a Nintendo Switch and it's like uh, three times the price of retail, but I've got one and you can get it, today if you want to bid on it. So you go out there, you're desperate, like you said, you want to get this for your kid so much, and you make the bid on it. You place the order, it goes through, it says, yeah, you want it. And then you wait, and then your mail eventually doesn't either show up, or worse, when it does show up, you go like, hey, I got it. And you feel the box and it's nice and heavy. And you open it up and it's a brick in it.
Or something else, or something totally unrelated, which has been happening quite a bit. Yes. Yeah,
And
that is
the other thing that'll happen too is if you don't read completely all the detail in that eBay article, in the fine print, it will probably say something like in the big print, it'll say Nintendo Switch Pro. And then in the small print, it says, this is a prototype of a Nintendo Switch Pro. It is not really released yet, but you can buy it today. And what it is they'll make a plastic prototype of it and they'll send
right.
it, and you've bought it, and legally it's not ethically correct, but legally you have bought exactly what they said they were going to sell you. You just didn't read the fine print when you did it, and if they have a no refund guarantee on it, you're out of your money.
Yeah, yeah, it's a sad thing.
Yeah, people will take advantage of any particular situation. So, as my lawyer friends always used to tell me, what the large print giveth, the fine print taketh away. So, buyer beware. You want to always look at it really, really close and check things out. What we're going to
Yeah, I
do
also
is
saw. Hey,
go ahead.
I also saw that in your This Week in History, you had Bill Gates basically talking about the. Where did that article go? That in 1995, hey, the internet is the place to go. Watch out for the internet tidal wave. Um, you know, and we're going to give this our highest level of importance.
And what the funny part about it is that everyone thought that a guy like that, who was on the leading edge of all the technology at the time, and Microsoft was the cat's meow at that time, should have been right on the front of that, but he was not, and he was very upset that he had missed that wave, and that was the reason why he came up with that big tidal wave and started the big push toward it. We're going to take a break and come back in a few minutes and talk some more about wireless routers and other technologies that you need to be aware of here on the Internet Advisor. Back here at the Internet Advisor, once again with Ed Rudel, our chief technologist, and of course me, Cal Carson, my chief, whatever the heck I do. And we've been going back and forth for years and years. A lot of times it ends up being that if it's a Windows question, please direct it to Mr. Rudel. If it's a Apple question, I'll take that on. And if it's just a question about anything else left in the Internet universe, we give it to Gary. But feel free to always contact us if you have questions about the internet, if you have questions about technology, by going to internetadvisor.net. You'll see a contact button there. Click on that. Fill in all the possible information you can about the question. If it's a computer, how old it is, what operating system you're using, what software you're using, what problem that you're having, and give us a complete description of that problem. Put it all in there, hit the button, and send it to us. We'll check our mailbag out and give you an answer back, either via this medium or directly via email. Or if you're lucky, you get to hear us right on WJR, our radio broadcast, where you can actually call in and ask that question straight up. So that's internetadvisor.net. You should know where that is, because if you're looking at this podcast, you're probably there. Hey, Ed,
Hey,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I am just so surprised at the wireless technology and the advancements. So, CNET again, and Rick Broida had an excellent article about the top 20 wireless routers for 2021, and we have the same names as we've seen before: the Cisco Linksys, Netgear, TP-Link, and even Asus is on there, which is my preferred one because I've tried all of those other ones. And I'm not sure what's up with wireless technology or if it's because of the number of brownouts I have out here, but I can't get these things to last more than 9 months to a year before they start wigging out on me. And my Azus has lasted almost 2 years now. And I
Wow.
don't know if they're having production problems or it's just frustrating. But there's been a lot of changes in the wireless technology. Now you realize that you're dealing with a consumer spectrum of 2.4 gigahertz up to 5 gigahertz.
Correct.
And in there, that's about it. So how do you squeeze more data in that? And that's where the 802.11 standards come in. So the wireless standards started with A, B, G, and it kept on going from there.
Yeah,
Now we're
and
up
that
to.
whole character thing just why'd they skip a bunch of letters and then start another one? But anyway, continue.
I
I didn't
think
mean
they're.
to get go.
I think they're going to come back to those, and we're going to start. We're going to start off with 802.11F. But right now they're at. And you could fill in the blanks there, but right now they're at AC and the next one, which is AX. So 802.11.8X is also known as Wi-Fi 6. So the industry has decided maybe the 802.11 blah 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 is a little too complicated for most consumers, and they went back and said Wi-Fi 1, Wi-Fi 2, and now they're up to Wi-Fi 6.
Great.
Geez, guys, you should have done that
In the
10
first
years
place.
ago. Yeah, because the 802 refers to the IEEE standards like RS-232, 449, those type of electrical standards
Codes.
and
Yeah.
codes. Yeah. So now we got 802.11 AC and X. And if you look at the modern routers, they actually have not just one or two antennas, they have 6 and 8 and 12 antennas because these are multi-channel devices. And what I mean by multi-channel is that there's a standards where you can do MIMO, which is multi-in, multi-out, and you can dedicate um, channels for individuals within the house. So the routers are smart enough to say, oh, we got a 4K video streaming over there and another 4K video streaming in the household over here using this wireless channel, and it will dedicate a set of antennas and the spectrum, radio spectrum, for the antennas for that user. And that's what multi-channels is all about. It's even got to the point now where you can do, and I'm trying to find the term that they called it here, beaming technology. So right now, when you're using wireless technology with these multiple antennas, it's basically broadcasting all the way around the spectrum, right? So thank you, Cal. So one of the things that you can do is, or one of the new advancements in the protocol is that if there is someone that's using high utilization, these antennas will actually use what's known as beaming technology and beam and dedicate it instead of in a broad spectrum, broadcast it towards the individual that is performing that streaming function. That tells us several things. That tells us that these wireless signals, the wireless protocols are advanced enough where they can find clear channels and determine the orientation or the direction in which the recipients are communicating with. That's quite advanced and technology that wasn't developed until like 12 years ago. And now they're incorporating it within these wireless routers for consumer use, which is incredible. And benefits all of us. So, I mean, we're going to be seeing 9,600 megabytes per second or 9.6 gigabytes of communication rate on the 802.11x, known as Wi-Fi 6. All of this is really, there's a lot of terminology there, beamforming, beaming, multicast, dual bands. But what that means for us is faster speeds, wireless for the consumer products, in the bottom line.
Wow. And see, it's so much to it. You just go crazy and you say to yourself, what do I do? How do I shake all this stuff out? What's best for me? And the whole bottom line too is that it varies. It always varies because the environment where you're at varies. The way your house is put together, Ed, is entirely different from the way my house is put together. And where you use your computer and your internet at is entirely different than where I use it at. So there's complexities of construction and materials of construction and distances and lengths between routers and from the receivers and numbers
Yeah,
of devices. It just gets to be a very complex type of situation. So when someone says to us, well, should I buy this router? Will this work for me? Well, it depends. What are you doing with it? What are you trying to do with it? This is the reason why we have techs doing all the things that we do. This is half the reason why we have this show, because I went out and I bought this router, but I'm not getting the type of response that I'm supposed to get. Well, where did you put the router? Are you using a MIMO router that does multiple different bands and stuff like that and broadcast different ways? There's so much to it that it's crazy, but we can help you shake that out. We can help you walk you through the bases and stuff like that. But you have to remember, it's more complex than it sounds. But then on the other hand, to use it is really simple. You pretty much connect to it, put in the password, you're good to go. So,
yeah, manufacturers want the consumers to have a great out-of-box experience, is what it's called.
exactly.
Plug it in, easy setup, and it's the little things when you're running into problems that then you start looking at, is my newest devices at home compatible with this newest router, right? Do I need to go to the manufacturer's website and update my wireless software drivers for my Mac or my PC or something along those lines to take advantage of this newer radio frequency Wi-Fi technology?
And a lot of times you hit on something really, really important in that last couple of sentences there, Ed. A lot of times we buy these technologies, especially routers. We get them, we plug them in, we get them going, and then we expect them to run forever. But they're just like all the other computers in our house. Excuse me. Occasionally they need updates. And so you have to update your router. Sometimes the router is not working up to par and you're wondering, oh, do I need to go out and buy a new one? The first thing you should always do is make sure that the firmware on that router has been updated and it's up to its latest spec. And then the software that interacts with it from the device that you're using as its software up to spec before you even go down the path of, oh, I need to go out and buy a new one. Because you'll find out in some cases it's not necessary. It's already working up to your requirements. It's just that you just have to make it work by using the right software with it. So always remember to do the updates on a regular basis.
Right, and that's either provided by Microsoft, right? Sometimes Microsoft will include hardware updates for the drivers for your wireless, and sometimes it's performed, but when you go to the manufacturer's website and then find your specific computer and download those updated drivers. Hey, but you're listening to the Internet Advisor. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back after this short commercial break.
Welcome back to the Internet Advisor. We are here every week giving you the best information on technology and things going on with the internet. You can catch us with Gary Baker, Ed Rudel, and myself, Cal Carson. We've been doing this for many, many years and going to continue to do such so. We have Ed coming from the shed in his studios out there as we broadcast over Zoom and do this Zoomcast every week. And Ed just, I just saw you feed the fire, and he literally has a real fire that's not an internet fire burning behind him. And I just saw you feeding that with some wood. And at the break, we were talking about things that, of course, all things internet, and you took advantage of the marketplace on Facebook to buy what?
I had to. I was looking at a wood chipper, and marketplace, and it's there in the back of the shed. There, it is huge.
Which one is it? It's the orange one, right?
Well, yes, it's the orange thing, and let me see. I forgot the name of it. Hold on.
Now, see, this is why you get involved with the internet, just so that you can take advantage of things. And here we go. Look at this. That is really a good looking piece of equipment. It doesn't really even look like it's that old.
No, it's brand new. It's only a year old. It's a Yard Max. And I had a few trees taken down. I have 10 acres up here, and I got rid of my truck, and I wasn't able to pick up the wood chips that are provided by Oakland County about 3 times a summer. And I'm like, you know what? I've got huge piles of brush and stuff all over the place. So I decided to get that. I got it for 550 on right down the street. I could not believe it. Here I was looking online, so I saved like $250, and who knows how much in shipping. When I go to the manufacturer, they wanted $160 just to ship the damn thing. So I really lucked out, and I still have all my fingers. So good. And that's one of the reasons why they have that 3 or 4 foot scoop on the front, is to prevent people from sticking their hands in there when it's whizzing around 100 miles an hour, and it's 6,000 RPM chopping up 3-inch brush. So I not only work on computers, but I do work on a lot of small engine stuff too, and cars.
It's amazing. That's called safety first. We always believe in that, especially if you're working on your computer at home and that sort of thing. Make sure you pull the power out if you're working on the inside of the computer first before you get started on anything. If you're doing upgrades, enhancements, or even taking on a fix on your own.
Yeah, I've electrocuted myself many times, which I'm told explains many things.
Ed, you got a great deal on that wood chipper, and I noticed on Mac Rumors they talked about great Memorial Day deals for Apple products, which anytime you can get a deal on Apple product is a deal, because they generally go darn near for list price all the time. But they've got a number of Memorial Day deals going on out there on things like the M1 MacBooks Pros. There's deals on the Apple Series 6 watch. There's deals on AirPods. There's deals on a number of different Apple products that you need to check out at that particular Mac Rumors website. The ones that I'm really kind of interested in that kind of tweaked me up a little bit was the deals on the AirPods, because I've been toying with for the longest time and getting hold of those, because I like them, because you don't have to deal with the wire and stuff hanging around your neck, and they, from what I've been told, they have good fidelity. Our buddy Deshaun has them, and he lives by them and believes in them. Even though he doesn't carry an iPhone, he does carry an Android, but he works with the AirPods as well, and they seem to work out just fine as what for his situation. The other thing is that I'm toying with, but for a longest time, of looking at a M1 class MacBook to get as well, because I would like to get a nicer, newer machine. But then it came out with the iMacs and the M class ones, those, and they look so good, and they're so colorful, and they're thin, and they're light. And they have the one thing that none of the other devices can offer that I need more than anything else, and that is that 27-inch screen. That large screen is the only way to go as far as I'm concerned. So, in addition,
does it come with a handle on top of it so you can carry it around?
It's lighter. It's much, much lighter. The one that I'm sitting in front of right now, my 27-inch iMac that's in front of me right now, is about almost 20 pounds, I think, because it's an all-in-one unit. The new iMacs are just tipping a little bit over 10 pounds.
Wow.
10 pounds.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just so much lighter and that sort of thing. And it's brilliant. It looks, to me, it looks like an iPad Pro that they stuck on a stand and then they enlarged the screen. Because it's about the same thickness. About the same thickness.
It's a Mac on a stick.
Who was that comedian?
I can't remember, but it's like a jalapeno on a stick.
On a stick.
That's great news that they really lightened it up. And of course, what you're talking about is not a laptop; it is basically a desktop unit. But that's incredible. And a 27-inch at 10 pounds, that's incredible.
The other thing that I noticed on Mac Rumors too is that, hey, folks, if you're going out and going to buy a car, if specifically you're going out to buy a brand new Kia, and that Kia is an all-electric one, then you want to take advantage of the offer that they have going with that. Because I've always wanted an Apple Watch, and one of the best ways, I have an Apple Watch now, but if I really wanted one bad enough, one of the best ways to get a free Apple Watch is to go out and buy a Kia electric. So what they're offering to the first 1,500 people who buy the 2022 EV6 that Kia is making, you have a choice of getting an Apple Watch, EV charging credits, or a at-home EV charger for your car. So those choices are out there. I know a lot of the newer electric vehicles are starting to use Apple CarPlay to the extent that you can lock and unlock the car using your watch. So you may want to take advantage of that type of situation. The only thing is, it seems like if you're in a household and you're married to somebody, you're going to be buying a watch anyway, because there's no way one person's going to enjoy that watch and the other person is not.
Two things I wanted to say about that, and that is, I didn't realize this, and I think I heard it on Mike Brennan um, from MI Tech News, is that, the federal subsidies rebates that you get on electric vehicles is incredible. But guess what? Being first to the market is not always the great. So being the first to the market was like General Motors, Ford, Honda, companies like that had electric vehicles. Companies like Kia did not. And I didn't realize this, but General Motors and some of the other companies have already used up all their federal subsidies and incentive tax dollars.
Yep.
You cannot get those. But companies like Kia, you can, because they're just starting in the electric vehicle in here in the United States. So you could still get those subsidies. Not good for American automakers. They're reviewing whether or not if they want to offer additional incentives and tax rebates for electric vehicles for some of these American companies that were first. I just thought it was an interesting play on those incentives, something I never really thought about, being first to the market and how you can run through your incentive dollars. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I guess what the government did, if I remember right, is they assigned a pool of money and said, okay, General Motors and Ford and Chrysler, that sort of thing, you get, I don't know, $100 million or something like that toward that pool to be able to give these. Well, they don't give the incentives, but for the government to give the incentives out that were as high as $7,500 on some cars. And so once your pot of money is exhausted, then it's all done. You have to sell them straight out for what they are.
Right, you can't even scrape the bottom of the proverbial, what do you call it?
Barrel.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, the scraping's all done. You got to go on your own, and then Kia says, "Hey, I got one over here." Well, good. Here's your barrel. Start scraping, and so it starts all over again. So you want to be able to shop around and check out things. The other thing that I saw on Mac Rumors, and this is something for me personally, I'll never ever do. I'll never pay for social media. I think that's ridiculous. For all the money that they suck in on advertising and stuff like that, to have a $2.99 monthly subscription service for Twitter. They're starting something called Twitter Blue.
Yeah.
Well, there's going to be $2.99 a month. And the big selling point, for this is that with Twitter Blue, you can pull back any tweets that you put out there you didn't want. Oh, whoopee.
Right, but I'm also wondering if it does anything for the people that have been banned, right?
Yeah.
And if they do a paid subscription, can they really be banned? That's the first place my mind went. But they're also offering additional things like in Twitter for the $2.99, which is where you could customize your landing page on there, and
yeah.
I
mean, there's other options that you get with it that goes along with it, but I just think it's crazy to pay for a social media thing.
You know what? I mean, the marketing people, they can write that off. Professionals, they could write that off as an expense. It's a way for Twitter to earn some additional dollars. It's not a lot. And is Twitter even making a profit yet? I don't think so. Even after all these years, I think they're just barely breaking even. Not even sure if they're making a profit. So.
Well, that's the way it goes out there. Some things work instantly. I mean, how much profit is MySpace making nowadays? So, some of them are very successful, like your Facebook, and some of them aren't. We're going to take a break and come back in a little bit. We'll talk some more with you. So stay tuned with the Internet Advisor. Oh, this is the final segment of the Internet Advisor, and we're going to try and touch on a couple of things real quick that we think are really important for you to know. Oh, look at that.
Oh, man. I want to talk about that Outlook. So, but go ahead. Let's do the...
Okay.
Let's
All
just
right.
get this other stuff out of the way
You
so we can
can't
sink
wait.
our
You
teeth into 20 years worth of pain.
in the IT industry, there's always something that's always a bane, something that just beats the living heck out of you. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But before we get to that, let's talk about a little thing that might be pleasurable as opposed to painful. And it appears that a Chromecast has stepped the game up a little bit better by bringing up a interface with Google TV that's according to the people over at CNET say it's worthy of a rival to Roku and Amazon Fire TV.
So right, so this is Google's next third attempt at doing something with streaming. I mean, they have YouTube and they have
Right.
YouTube TV, but this is an actual streaming device. So they came out with the Android TV, and then what was the first Google streaming that was like just Google?
It
I
was
can't remember.
Chromecast, wasn't it?
Chromecast, yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. So now Google's offering a $50 streamer with actual menu, and that was the big. It's that user interface that is all important, and this one's very Roku-like, um, supposedly. And what's nice, like Netflix, it also has a voice address system, so it
Ooh.
takes advantage of the ability to speak to it, like Netflix, where you could say, "Hey, is there a movie about 1800s cowboys and Indians, stuff like whatever." Um, and at least now, but you know what? If Google has its fingers in there, I'm just wondering because of the ads and stuff like that, and the tracking, and there's they're always doing things behind the scenes. I'm not it. I don't know. You know what I'm
Well,
saying? It's a
well,
great interface. They're saying it's
in
their
it,
next attempt.
anytime you get involved with the internet and it's dealing with any entity that deals with monetization, you're going to be a victim of tracking. You're going to be a victim of all of ads. You're going to be a victim of all those devices because that's how they make money and that's what they want to do. What grates me is every time they want to make money, I don't mind that. That's entrepreneurship. That's
That's
what
true.
folks are supposed to do. But you're not going to make money and have me pay for you to make money. That's just ridiculous. You
Right.
know, for example, if you, I was talking with a gentleman this past weekend who dealt with, I think, Dish Network. Basically, Dish Network gives you the receiver, gives you the dish, gives you all the hardware for free. And then what you do is you pay a monthly subscription, and then they give you the programming. Well, if you're going to be reaping the rewards of my browsing and stuff like that, and shooting advertisement stuff like that at me, why am I paying you a monthly subscription for that? That's crazy. That's crazy. I don't care what you say. They need the money. They don't need the money because they got enough income coming in from the advertisement stuff like that. Back in the old days, they had something called over-the-air television. How did that work? You bought a receiver, and that's it. You were done. And then all you did was watch the content. And yeah, they gave you ads and stuff like that. It self-supported itself. And it did it for years and
Well,
years
it's
and
it's all
years and
about
years.
more and more and more. You got to show more money. You got to show more profits. How are we going to dig it? How are we going to scrape some more cash out of the consumer so that our stockholders will be happy? And that's what it is. Hey, we found a way to even suck more money out of your wallet. And Wall Street goes, yes, I love it. And their stock goes up, and the CEOs get happy. They get their bonuses. 2 years later, they're gone, and they're left with them. We've seen it over and over again. It's all about Wall Street. That's all it's about.
Now, come back
Okay.
into come back into the technology focus because we did rant for a minute there. I must say,
Woo!
uh, the voice interface I think is really crucial to any streaming service coming forward, and I say that because I went through this experience just the past weekend. I have a TiVo box, and I also have a cable card in it from Comcast. We were having a weird, and this was really weird. We were having a weird thing trying to get this box to work in a location in my house. Long story short, they always say avoid putting splitters on your line because it degrades the signal and stuff like that. The only way that this TiVo box would work was to put a splitter on the line, which was really weird. But we got it to work. But the guy said to me, well, why do you want to use this TiVo box when we have these Comcast boxes that you can use in its place. And I told them the reason why I love my TiVo box is number one, I don't have to pay a monthly rate for DVR, and I can put 700 hours worth of DVR in it. But what I also like a lot about it is that TiVo's menuing system is extremely easy to work with and very detailed, and I love it. And they said, well, it doesn't have this one feature. And I go, what feature is that? He goes, voice command. And for the version of TiVo that I have, I don't have voice command. And I got to admit, it's definitely a game changer. You know, it's easy to pick up that remote and just go, show me the Flintstones, and bam, they're up there on the screen. So the interface is always the winner in that particular case. Ed, I have to agree with you 100%. It's all about the interface, and Chrome didn't have it with Chromecast, but with this new Google TV Chromecast combination, it's going to be definitely well worth
Yeah,
the
and,
adventure.
and it may work out. This may just put Google on the map as far as another streaming service. Hey, I wanted to sink my teeth in the next 5 minutes, 4 minutes on something that you and I used to do for in our profession, and that is provide support in an office environment where they use Microsoft Office, they use Microsoft calendaring, Outlook calendaring, and the bane of that has always been it works great, sending meeting notifications and invites. It's the delegates. So we have executives that we supported. We have an executive assistant who is a delegate for 8 different people. And when that's happening, what that means is they manage the calendars for those executives. And they accept the meeting invites, they rearrange the meeting invites, but there's always been, so basically they have an exact copy, unless you're using a web browser and doing web content. They have, not only does the executive assistant or the delegate have a copy of their mailbox calendar, contacts, and archive folders on their PC, but they also have the executive's inbox, contacts, and calendaring on there streamed to their computer. And it's stored in a file called an OST, or an offline storage folder. Well, when you have an executive assistant that not only has manages their own mailbox but other people's, you run into a problem with bandwidth because they need to show 5 calendars simultaneously. But the big thing is the data storage on that computer. We've had, Cal, you can tell, we could tell stories at one point 40 gigabyte, 60 gigabyte, and now in 2021 I'm seeing 100 gigabyte offline storage folders for not only for the executive assistant but also all the calendars they maintain, and that's
Yep.
for conference rooms calendars. And it's been the bane of Microsoft forever. Why are we talking about this, and why did I bring this up? Microsoft.
Is the
So
Outlook getting better?
no, it's the same interface. Well, from what we have right now in the Office 365, Microsoft has been telling corporations, if you go to Office 365 and get off your private Exchange servers and go to our cloud-based service, you won't have those problems. Baloney. So we're still running into the problems, and Microsoft's like, well, it must be your network. No, we're still running against the file structure problem of copying all the content from all the different calendars from the executives to the delegates, and it just stalls computers. You can see how passionate I am about this because I got to work with the delegates on this.
So
So
is there anything
Microsoft,
coming down the pipe that's going to make this better?
yeah, so Microsoft, get off my horse. So Microsoft has basically said, where did I put that? In the Microsoft 2103 update, there's going to be an option in there that basically says, and you're familiar with this, when you go to the delegates tab and you add, when you're on the executive's calendar or in the executive's box and you go into delegates and add to delegate, and who do you want to use to manage your inbox and calendar, turn on shared calendaring improvements. Very mysterious little checkbox. It's supposed to improve performance, bandwidth, and the amount of data that's being sent to the delegates and stored on their computers. We're hoping that takes care of it.
So you're saying that there's a possibility that they may have a fix for this frustration we've been beating our heads with for the past 10 some odd years when it comes to delegation of calendars to multiple people, more than one.
Yeah, I guess I could have said that like simply like that instead of going on my horse, but that's exactly what I'm saying. So, well, there's more to this story. We'll find out more, and we'll keep our listeners up to date as we
Well,
find out more.
after riding that horse down the street, we're going to hitch it up to the post and say, look, folks, if you're interested in any other information regarding the internet, stay tuned with us on a regular basis, either on WJR or via our website here at internetadvisor.net. Ed, thanks so much for being with us this week, and we'll have you back next week. And I'm going to say so long, and please check out us again on Internet Advisor. Have a great week.